A blissful day to all of you. Today, we will tackle the work simplification in the food service industry. It has been observed that in many local service operations that some personnel take up much time and effort in the performance of their task, greatly reducing productivity. With today's labor cost, it is necessary to improve employees' productivity. So ang isang paraan para maresolba ito ay sa pamamagitan ng work simplification sa food service. So ano nga ba talaga itong work simplification? It is defined as getting the job done in a hassle-free way, meaning the simplification of work there is the way of finding the simplest, the quickest, as well as the easiest methods in doing things. This can be applied in food preparation to be able to prepare food in a fast and convenient way. Also, the performance of tasks in a simplest way possible to conserve time and energy. Because preparing foods are not simple things to do. Tama naman kasi napakadaming proseso para mag-produce ng pagkain at mag-prepare. Because this work also needs some knowledge and skills. It also needs time, effort, energy, and finances as well as patience. And work simplification also aimed at getting a high rate of productivity with a minimum expenditure of time and energy. Kung titingnan natin yung chart ng requirements of work simplification, sa input, nandoon yung time and energy. Meaning, yan yung inagugol nating effort at oras para mag-prepare ng pagkain. Kaya may nakalagay na list sa ibaba kasi kung magkakaroon tayo ng work simplification sa workplace, less time and energy lang ang gagamitin natin. That will lead to an easy work pero high quality naman yung magiging output or production. Kung baga ang goal ng work simplification is to lessen the work or hindi na sobrang mahihirapan yung worker na mag-effort pero maganda pa rin naman yung kakalabasan ng production. If the work is done in easy way, then less fatigue or mababawasan yung pagod ng mga worker at may energy pang matitira para sa ibang task na gagawin. Worker fatigue should be avoided because it causes poor performance, resulting in inferior product quality and even spoilage or accidents. So, there are several factors that help facilitate work simplification. The first one is the worker, and the kitchen tool and equipment, kitchen layout, use of convenience food, knowledge of the homemaker, scheduling of staff, and working condition. So first, let's talk about the worker. The worker is the first concern in food service. Why they are the first concern in the food service? Kasi sila yung halos gumagawa ng mga tasks sa production. Pag walang workers, then productivity will not come into the reality. It is the responsibility of the management that human tasks be designed so that the limitation of body dimension, structure, and body movements are not violated. Pag may na-aksidente na worker dahil sa mga mabibigat na gawain, responsibilidad pa yun ng management, hassle at time-consuming sa paghahanap ng papalit sa worker na yun. So there are two types of horizontal workspace. The first one is the normal horizontal area. It is the space in the work surface within which work is done with the least energy. Work done in this area uses the arm and the forearm, kung makikita natin dito, but not the upper arm of the body. For example natin dito, yung taga-deliver ng necessities sa kitchen. Kung box na magaan lang yung dala niya, then ang gagamitin lang niyang pang-support or pang-carry do sa load ay yung upper arms niya. Pangalawa, maximum horizontal work area. Space in the work surface within which work is done with an average amount of energy. Example pa din, kung mabigat naman yung dadalhin na box gagamitan na niya yung whole arm at biceps saka shoulder to carry the load. Studies reveal that it is tiring to work outside the maximum work area when it is done repeatedly or when heavy articles are lifted. The easy movement of the human body is also an important consideration in work simplification. Una ay yung simultaneous movements. It is the movement of the hands that begin and end at the same time. Magkasabay na gagamitin yung dalawang kamay para mas mapadali yung gawain kaysa isang kamay lang yung gamit. These are best accomplished when both hands are doing identical tasks. Number 2, symmetrical movements. The right hands move to the right of the center line while left move to the left center line. Or the movement here is directly forward from the body should start with both hands and return at the same time. Number 3, natural movements. Movements that corresponds to the physical structure of the body and are the easiest and fastest to make. May classes yung natural movement, yun yung finger movements, finger and wrist movements, finger, wrist, forearm, and upper arm movements, finger, wrist, forearm, upper arm, and shoulder movements. Number 4 ay rhythmical movements. May kumpas. Total motion pattern creates a rhythm when repeated frequently. Ito yung movement na parang kalkulado mo na yung oras ng bawat galaw ng kamay mo. Kaya hindi time-consuming ang paggawa at mapapabilis ang trabaho. Kunyari, sa kitchen, sa paghiwa pa lamang ng mga ingredients, parang may ritmo yung motion ng kamay. Mabilis maghiwa ng gulay, kunyari. Kasi sanay na kita, tapos calculated mo yung tamang size and proportion. So, mas mapapaganda ang production. Number 5 is the habitual movement. Ito yung pinagsama-samang simultaneous, symmetrical, natural, and rhythmical movements that leads to habitual movements kasi nakagawian mo na at nasanay ka na doon. And let's move on to the kitchen tools and equipment. Appropriateness of the kitchen tools and equipment should also be considered in order to simplify the work. For example, if production equipment such as mechanical peelers, choppers, and mixers can reduce the amount of time spent doing tasks. The key in selecting the appropriate facility design and equipment is to match these parameters to expected volume of business. For example, kapag bumili ka ng makamalaking mixer for the volume of business, the work involved in cleaning the machine after use will not warrant the extra expense of purchasing the equipment. On the other hand naman, kapag masyado namang maliit yung biniling mixer, it will reduce efficiency as you will be unable to mix the quantities needed in a single batch. Kumbaga, dapat na-calculate din natin yung tamang tools and equipment para hindi masayang ang time, effort, at energy ng mga workers sa ating workplace. Kitchen utensils and equipment should be adequate to allow the homemaker to do the task well. Dapat nakaset na, naka-organize para hindi malito yung mga nag-prepare ng foods at yung mga nagaluto. They should also be checked if these are in good condition or not, as well as if these are easy to maintain. Next is the kitchen layout. The layout of the kitchen should ensure the arrangement of all the kitchen utensils. The arrangement should also allow for the quick and convenient travel from one place to another. It should also provide comfort as well as safety in use. Kasi pag yung kitchen natin ay merong poor kitchen layout, it can limit the number of individuals who can work efficiently. It may require time-consuming trips to distant storage area to obtain food items or dishes. Kaya man din nung pinagawa kita ni ma'am ng floor plan layout ng restaurant, dapat ang may pinakamaayos na layout doon ay yung kitchen. Kumbaga, kitchen is the heart of the restaurant because the production starts from there. Kung maayos ang layout ng kitchen, magiging maganda yung flow ng pagtatrabaho ng staffs doon at saka mapapadali. At saka naka-separate yung mga equipment at tools natin dun sa ibang bagay para hindi magkagulo-gulo to avoid chaos. At dapat sapat lang din yung laki ng space ng kitchen para sa storage of foods, equipments at mga staff. Kunyari, pag masyadong malaki yung space ng kitchen, the minimum staff needed to operate each station may increase. Kunyari ay, if a salad preparation station is located away from the main kitchen, kailangan pa ng manager na mag-require ng salad preparation personnel even when the restaurant is not busy. Masyadong hassle yun. Similarly, if your kitchen layout is very compact, narrow, or masyadong makipot, masikip, you may be able to run efficiently with only one cook. However, you may be unable to meet the demands of a high volume of sales because the kitchen is too small to accommodate more than a couple of staff. Saka magasiksikan ang mga staff sa loob, pwedeng magkabungguan, may matapon or masayang na foods at may maaksidente. Di masyadong time consuming pa din yun. Hindi lalong makakasagabal pa para sa mga gawain. So, para mapadali ang trabaho sa food service, the best kitchen layout is the best asset para makakalabas-pasok yung mga authorized personnel nang hindi nahihirapan at walang naaabala sa loob ng kitchen. Next is the use of convenience food. Convenience food are foods like pre-prepared, ready-to-cook, and ready-to-serve foods. Ang example nito ay yung dressed chicken, pre-cut pork and beef, fish meat, poultry, and many else. It is also important to prepare or plan meals that can be prepared with the less amount of time, less amount of energy, fewer amounts of fuel and other resources. Preparing convenience food can also be done if necessary to allow the fast preparation of foods. Pwedeng mapadali ang food preparation sa kitchen at hindi time-consuming kung gagamit din tayo minsan ng convenience food na most likely sa food service ay ganyan naman talaga yung ginagawa. Kunyari, chicken curry yung isang menu, hindi naman kasagsagan ng pagluluto ay magkakatay pa kita ng manok. Kumbaga, yung naka-prepare na and ready to cook or may stocks na sa walk-in fridge. Convenience food saves energy and time. Next is the knowledge of the homemaker. The simplification of work also depends upon how good the homemaker in preparing the recipe he or she intends to prepare. Yung homemaker na natukoy dito sa food industry, siya yung naga-manage ng kitchen. Kunyari, yung master chef. Pag magaling yung master chef na naga-maneuver ng kitchen, alam niya yung halaga ng bawat oras sa pagluluto kasi calculate niya na yon. Gaya dati, doon sa napapanood ko. Sa isang restaurant, stricto yung master chef tapos bawal magkamali doon. Bawal magsayang ng ingredients. Dapat kalkulado lahat ng yung minuto. Bawat minuto ay mahalaga. Pati lahat ng galaw. When a homemaker is knowledgeable and skillful, he can save more time and effort in doing the task in food service industry. A homemaker that is knowledgeable and skillful can save more time and effort in doing the task. So, scheduling of staff and working condition. The scheduling of staff is based on the labor hours needed to meet the projected sales volume. The supervisor also needs to keep an eye on labor dollars by considering whether staff on a lower wage scale could be scheduled. For example, on holidays or other times when overtime rates must be paid, it would be less costly to bring in a new employee who is not eligible for statutory holiday pay. So no matter how well you have planned the schedule, problems can arise. A staff member may call in sick or fail to show up without warning kasi mayroong mga emergency. The volume of sales may be lower or higher than anticipated. You must have contingency plans to deal with these problems. You could have a staff member or a casual employee on call in case he or she is needed. You also have to know the capabilities of your staff. On a night when you have most experienced, capable servers and cooks who can handle a stressful situation, you may be able to get by with one fewer staff than your staffing guide calls for. Other factors to consider when developing schedules include the following. Staggered work schedule can be used to meet the demand over peak periods without incurring additional labor costs through the full shift. Dito, kung maganda yung pagkakaset ng schedule para sa bawat staff, mamimit yung demand kahit napaka-hectic na nung araw na yon. Kunyari, maraming customers nung araw na yon. Hindi baga magiging hassle para sa lahat. At saka, it will incur additional labor costs throughout the full shift. Number 2, part-time staff can be used to work short shifts of 4 or 5 hours to reduce overall labor cost. Dapat may mga part-time staff ka din. Hindi lang yung mga full-time staff para hindi naman sila yung sobrang mapagod. Kunyari ay magkaroon ng emergency, merong mapalit. Meron ka agad matatawagan. Hindi ka kung kailan nagka-emergency ay maghahanap ka pa lamang. Full-time staff are usually used to cover all the key administrative positions. Sometimes, full-time position can consist of a mix of supervisory and frontline tasks in order to make up a full-time job. Number 4, temporary employees can be used to meet labor needs that are temporary in nature such as banquets, employee illness, or vacation relief. Number 5, legal considerations such as the requirements of the Employment Standards Act and provision of the collective agreement must be kept in mind. Staff capability should be taken into consideration. Some employees may thrive in a stressful dinner rush, while others perform well under less stressful situation. Some employees may have additional skills, hosting, bartending, which can be used effectively when sales volume is low if collective agreements of staff's policies permit. Dito napapasok yung termination and dismissal at saka yung mga agreements na kailangang yung dapat ay merong agreements and employment standard acts. Employees' preference should also be accounted for in the schedule. Policy should be in place for requesting shift preference or exchanging shifts between staff members. Dahil when demand is lower than expected, you must know the limitation. We must know what limitation there are on sending staff home early while still maintaining the minimum staffing needed to remain open. Of course, we must comply with collective agreements and all legislation that affects your workplace. Kapag naintindihan natin yung agreements and the Employment Standard Acts, we will know what flexibility we have to adjust to the situation that will arise in the workplace. So, yung termination and dismissal of food service personnel. Una, yung contract of service, an agreement in which a person or one person binds himself or herself to employ another as a worker and the other agrees to serve the former. Defines employer-employees relationship. Kung baga, mayroong formal agreement ang both parties, which are the employees and the employer. May magiging basis sila para hindi sumaway sa mga policies at rules ng bawat isa, para magkaroon pati ng adjustment and ang bawat isa kung magkakataong may problema sa workplace. Essential clauses of the contract. Dito napapasok yung hindi pwedeng baguhin ng employer yung term and condition of the employment contract unless the employee ratifies the proposed modification. Unless kung pumayag or may consent ng employee na pwedeng baguhin yun ng employer, na kapag wala siya ay pwedeng pwedeng mag-decide sa kanya ay yung employer niya. The clauses are the starting date, job title and scope, hours of work, probation period, employee benefits, and notice of termination. Dismissal. This is the discharge of an individual from employment. Kumbaga, ito na yung nangyayari ito, yung dismissal ay if employees resigns as the result of the hostile and unfriendly environment. Kumbaga ay nag-submit siya ng resignation paper na siya ay ayaw na magtrabaho or hindi na siya magtatrabaho. It is also the order or notice of discharge. In labor law, it is also called constructive discharge. Yung constructive discharge naman, yan yung naga-free dun sa worker, dun sa kanyang obligasyon. At para may claim rin siya and may claim din siya na kayang gawin against dun sa kanyang employee kapag yung rights niya ay na-invalidate nung kanyang employer. Kaya mahalaga din yung termination and dismissal of food service personnel kasi ito ay nagle-lessen ng ng hindi pagkakaunawaan sa workplace. Tapos para hindi masyadong time consuming yung paggawa productivity sa workplace kasi kung kunyari hindi nila ang paalam yung personnel, bigla-biglaan mahirap maghanap ng kapalit niya. Kaya dapat ay yung nagapaalam agad kung ga-resign na or mag-leave. Kaya maganda rin yung may clauses of contract or may kontrata na agreement sa both parties. Dati may nabasa ako na related siya sa sa restaurant and hotels. Kapag yung kunyari manager or employee ay hindi nagpaalam na maalis siya, sign yun ng unethical practice at pwede siyang makasuhan kasi siya ay nagbind siya ng may kontrata siya. And that's all for today. Thank you and God bless.